kwapuoko naka o Uganda ipuno i elosete akonye idoda ikoto ai moro kede ai dules be lubonyo e kaibusa kintona aswam anoni aitene eswamaye. Honorable, I think I had lost you a little bit, but I was asking, your biggest agenda in the previous campaigns was financial liberation of all Ugandans from the clutch of poverty. Do you think this agenda is still achievable basing on the way things are happening in the country? COVID-19 is there, corruption rates amidst impunity is raising up. Is this agenda still achievable, or it is still hanging?
It is achievable when I'm in power. Because
and when are you getting to power?
I know I'm not yet, but I will be. But here is what I was talking about. I said that you read it there. I said that we are not a poor country. We have enough resources to make our people live comfortable lives. We are not a poor country. We are just a poorly governed country. And we have enough to make people rich. Not everybody to be millionaires and billionaires. No. I'm saying we should not be having poor people with the resources that God has given us. And every region of the country has resources which are unique to that region. For instance, when you go to Teso, there are resources which are unique to Teso. Now, the work of a proper government would just be how can the people of Teso benefit from the resources that God put in their land. Okay, and that is not rocket science. We can do that. We can make people benefit from those resources. We can revive the things that have been deliberately killed, like the animal husbandry and the cattle farming and all that. Those are not difficult things to revive if you have a government which actually cares about the people. But this one does not. That's the truth. And every other region, even if we left Teso and went to Karamoja, is there a shortage of wealth in Karamoja? If we went to Lango, is there a shortage of wealth in Lango for the people of that place to, have comfortable lives there? So financial liberation is that we are not a poor country. We are a blessed country. We are a country blessed by God. Okay, in very many areas, I can actually think of very few countries that has blessed. Now, why is it that our people are poor? Because of bad governance. So now the bad governance means that some people want to take control of all the resources for themselves, and then to the exclusion of every other person. That's why I said we have to. My purpose was to build an an economy that has some form of equity, where everybody feels they're a partaker of the good things that are in this country, not just a few people, and the rest of us, are locked out on the outside, like foreigners or like aliens. So this is what I was saying. And now it is very achievable. Anytime, by the way, the bad news, of course, for us as a country is that the current leadership has broken the building, basically, torn it down, and left the building almost raised to the ground. The good news is that the bricks to rebuild are still there. So as soon as we get rid of them, we shall start rebuilding. And thankfully, the bricks are still there. The wealth of Teso is still there. The wealth of Karamoja is still there. The wealth of Bugisu or everybody is still there. Like, this country is blessed. So we have enough building blocks to start rebuilding again and make the people of all these regions enjoy the benefit of good governance. And I'll give you an example. When COVID came, of course, COVID has affected everybody across the world. When COVID came, what Kenya did, and I'm not talking about America or France or England, I'm talking about Kenya, who are our neighbors. So we should be able to gauge ourselves against such people. What they did is they came up with a policy in which they said, first of all, when they got loans from the world, from the IMF, like we did, we got $1 billion from IMF. Kenya got $750 million. They got less than us. But what they did with their money, first of all, they said, everybody who has done business with the government should be paid their money. Now, here in Uganda, there are so many people who supplied government as many as 5-6 years ago who are yet to be paid. But now they realize that those people also employ other people. So let's first pay people who, whom we owe money, so that they can go and pay the people under them. Then they decided that even if COVID has come, we should not kill agriculture. We should make sure that agriculture, we do not lose the season because we shall need that food at some stage. So they actually put aside some money for farmers to encourage them to go and farm because the country would need that food. Here we closed down everything. So the farmers in Kenya were encouraged, they were given the equivalent, I think, of 90 billion Uganda shillings to go and so that they don't miss the season. So Kenya had food because the farmers were growing food through the COVID period, even if there was a bit of a lockdown in the urban areas. Then they also went and decided to reduce, pay as you earn. That's for people who are employed. Pay as you earn, for what they said is anybody who earns some 750,000, the equivalent of 750,000 Uganda shillings, 1,000 shillings a month. Now, even those who earn above it, they reduced their pay as you earn from 30% to 25%. Then they reduced corporate taxes for all companies from 30% to 25%. Then they distributed money to people. And theirs did not take 1 month of discussions and what it has owns. So they did all this, and actually I was seeing that they went and to see how people have recovered from COVID, they checked and they said that they went and found that about close to 3 million Kenyans had, close to 2 million Kenyans had in 3 million, the equivalent of 3 million Ugandan shillings and above on their accounts. So they said, so it looks like people are now recovering from the effects of COVID because they check on their accounts. Then they said they actually about 2 million people who have the equivalent of 3 million Ugandan shillings on their accounts. So it means people are recovering. So they're actually monitoring the recovery of their citizenship to see, okay, we all suffered because of COVID, but how are people recovering? Then also they removed the banks relaxed the loans for 6 months. So if you had a loan and you are paying a loan, 6 months you are forgiven. It's all the way up to the same. None of the above things was put in place. Yet we got $1 billion from, actually in excess of $1 billion, by the way, more than that, about $2.5 billion altogether, counting all of them altogether, from in loan money. But it was not used to help Ugandans whatsoever. Nothing. Farmers were not encouraged. Even the money which was distributed, even if they had given it to everybody, it would end up being just a few billion shillings. And yet, trillions of shillings, almost 7 trillion to 2.5, that comes almost 7 trillion shillings for COVID money. So we just let our people to go out and we hang them out to dry. Basically, go and look after yourself. While other countries which are surrounding us, I'm not talking about America or England or Britain or France, I'm talking about Kenya. While Kenya, Rwanda did something for their people. With that money, they got the same money as we did.
But Uganda also sent money to the vulnerable. Wasn't that fair enough?
How many? That's what I'm telling you. We got 7 trillion shillings, about 7 or 8 trillion shillings, and the money they were sending out was 51 billion.
It reached out to a few, right?
Listen, and I'm telling you this. All the things that I've mentioned, there are people who are not vulnerable, but who can be helped. For instance, the president recently sat with landlords of buildings in the city, and the president told them that you forgive. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The president told them that okay, I think we had lost connection. The president told them that you go and forgive your tenants rent for at least 1 or 2 or 3 months because they have not been working, they have been locked down. And you know what the owners of the building did? They promised the president that they were going to do exactly that. But when they went back, they refused. They said, we are not going to forgive anybody any money. And I asked one of them who owns the building, I said, why didn't you do it? Then he said, the president does not tell us that he's reducing the taxes. He does not tell us that they are easing any of the bank pressure. You're under pressure from a bank, you're under pressure from URA, you're under pressure from KCCA, but somehow the president is telling you forgive. Whereas for him, he cannot forgive any tax, even a coin of a tax. Kenya reduced their VAT from 16 to 14% because of COVID. So at least the government showed that it had goodwill towards helping the people to survive the effects of COVID. You understand? But in Uganda, the government showed very, very little, almost miniature goodwill whatsoever. They cannot even relax taxes on those people. So you're telling somebody to forgive his tenants rent, yet you are not forgiving him taxes. So how is that supposed to work? So they did not. And now that's the whole problem, because the government wants to continue squeezing taxes out of people. Other countries eased taxes tremendously. Because not everybody is going to get money on their phone, you understand? But there are other ways of doing it. Instead of giving people, other people who are vulnerable, give them money on the phone, that's okay. But then others, just reduce the taxes or suspend them for a while or show them goodwill.
Okay.
None.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable. You seem to be among the new, fresh political air that the country has started breathing, and yet it looks like government never takes you seriously, or any of the opposition genuine ideas. Doesn't this frustrate and demoralize your ambitions?
No, because when we started this thing, let me tell you something. I haven't been too long in politics.
Okay.
But when we started this thing, we are looking beyond this tired government. They are going down. I can tell you that they are going down. So we are not planning for a period of these people. We know these thieves, we know they cannot change their ways.
But they are running the country that you're living in.
For how much longer? For how much longer? Just wait and see. For how much longer? Because we know a leopard does not change its spots. Isn't that what they say? So we know this, and even the president has previously referred to himself as a leopard. So a leopard does not change its spots. So we know that regardless of what good ideas you give the president, he is not going to undertake those ideas. Because his objectives are different from what our objectives are.
Okay, Honorable, you're so much passionate about the livelihoods of people, and especially their businesses. We've seen government coming with different programs, and key in their agenda is the Emyoga funds. Government recently came up with Emyoga funds to help people. What is your take on the current Emyoga funds as a relief to small-scale enterprises?
Let me tell you, when you see there is every government scheme that has come up has got to be judged fruit, okay? And as a preacher, I know you know them by their fruits. So previously, they have let's look at some of the other schemes they have come up with before Emyoga. Before I tell you what I think about Emyoga, what happened to Bonaba Gagawale? What happened to NADS, which was supposed to improve agriculture and bring up all that? It's now run by soldiers. What happened to? There are so many others that have been there before. You can remind me some of them. And there's one thing they have in common. They all come at times of election. All of them come at a time of elections. Now, I was talking to some MPs.
Has the parish model also come the time of the elections?
The parish model, it was also introduced at the time of the election.
No, it was introduced after the election.
The money came afterwards, but the idea was fronted before the elections. And everything comes before the elections and dies away by the first 1 year or 1.5 years after the elections. That's what happens.
Do you think this one is also dying?
It will die. It will die. Because I've told you there is a whole litany.
So should Ugandans continue embracing government programs?
If the government program is going to help you and you're going to get money, I am happy. You think I don't want people to get money? I want them to get it. If they're getting it from government, please go ahead and get it because it's your money. If it comes as a Emyoga and you actually are a recipient of Emyoga money, please go and use it to make your life better. That when your life is better, that makes Kabuleta happy. But unfortunately, I have my doubts about how many people will get and how effective that scheme will be. I wish it would be effective. But I'm telling you, I was talking to some members of parliament who are telling me that the money was given on the day before the election. Some circles received their money on the eve of the election. And it was just for the purpose of that.
Do you have any authentic information that you can share with the public, evidence in regards to that, of the circles that received money a day to elections?
Oh no, they was there because you know what happened. They sent members of parliament to go to their constituencies to check on the Myoga funds. You remember that?
Please name a few for substantialities.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. So when they send the members of parliament to go to the constituencies to check on the effectiveness of a Myoga, the members of parliament are supposed to come back and report to parliament. Okay? And what they report to parliament is taken as some kind of truth because they are representative in those areas.
Some kind of truth.
Wait. And it is debated upon by parliament and recommendations are made accordingly. So now, even before they go to debate on parliament, I went and spoke to certain members of parliament and they told me there were so many ghost circles which were given money, circles which did not exist. Registered themselves a few days to the coming of the money and they got money, and there were so many real circles that did not get money, and they told me there were quite a number of them which came in either the eve of the election or 2 or 3 days before the election. The money is dispersed. So that has, is out there. So I'm not going to go and check bank details for every circle.
Okay.
To say, but I had that from members of parliament for different, constituencies. Before they could even go and present in parliament, I spoke to some of them and they were telling me that. So, unfortunately, the Myoga thing, the elections were in January. By January of 2023, nobody will be talking about a Myoga. Unfortunately, I wish they would.
What if it happens that way? What will come out?
No, I'm happy. If the people get the money, I'm happy.
Okay.
You see, let me tell you something.
I want to pay the bills.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
If I had a function, let's say a wedding, okay, and somebody promises me money, but I know he has a record of not fulfilling his promises, and I say that one I'm not going to count on his money because I know he doesn't fulfill his promises. Then you ask him, what if he fulfills? Then I'm happy. Let him bring the money.
So you are among the few in opposition that celebrate some of government's achievements, is it?
I don't know about celebrating government's achievements. I celebrate when the people get something that improves their lives.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Honorable Joseph Kabuleta. Allow me go take a very short commercial break, and then I will come back and we pick up with the discussion. This is 91.5 KVR Veritas, your most reliable voice. Emmanuel Okia is my name. The KVR Talk Show, Monday to Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. We continue dissecting issues that are happening in Uganda. And tonight I host Honorable Joseph Kabuleta, a former presidential candidate, a former sports journalist. An activist, an author, but also a politician in Uganda. We shall come back, this and much more.
Don't go away.
KVR Veritas, FM 91.5.
We'll be back right after we pay the bill.
Robert, ka igranza kwa takanyape, idoda, idumakirijo, kutu magwela narita kere, no idunyas kajo.
Madrid, you break the TV. What's wrong? I was promised great football, but look at this, wasted my money. Have you tried GoTV? They have value for money. Do they have La Liga? Yes. Serie A? Yup. Premier League? Yes, and great quality too. Wow, this new football season, get your money's worth when you get and stay connected to GoTV for football worth watching on our revamped Super Sport channels. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Saint Elizabeth Girls Secondary School is a government-aided or an A-level girls' school founded by Sorority Catholic Diocese. Over the years, Kidetok Girls Secondary School has produced great women and mothers in Teso and beyond. We inform our dear parents and guardians that this is the best school for your daughter because of the following reasons. The school has got the best learning environment to keep your daughter from distraction. We have good and dedicated teachers ready to help your daughter academically, morally, and spiritually. St. Elizabeth Girls Secondary School has modern laboratories, libraries, spacious classrooms, and dormitories. Our school fees is affordable and we allow parents to pay in installments. The school offers balanced diet. Bring your daughter to St. Elizabeth Girls Secondary School Kidetok for Senior 1. We also have vacancies in all classes. Rush now and get us physically or online through the following contact: 0772 640742 or 0772 882300 or the school email kidetokgirls@gmail.com.
Well, yalama atakeri abung no toma gwelanar au misho jai toma jai loloyo ngo kedelo kujita bwe itarauta president akwapo kono Uganda, Honorable Joseph Kabuleta. Well, come back from that very short commercial interlude as we proceed with the discussion. I want to come back to you, Honorable. The education sector seems to be on its knees, apparently, and yet even health is wanting, and government's priority seems to be on health. Do you think there is need to rejuvenate physical classes, or the online approach could be more sustainable since many students were already adapting to it?
Oh, come on. Many students are adapting to it. Let me tell you something. School is not just about learning.
I want you to move closer to your microphone. Yes.
School is not just about learning. My brother, school is about, even if it was possible and all our students would learn online, which it is totally not. First of all, because of electricity penetration, which is less than mid-20%, because of the number of people, internet prices, which are extremely high and have just been, hit with the new tax and so on. Even in countries where people have very good quality internet and where they have the ability to study online, they have opened schools because they understand that schools are not just about learning. Schools are about socializing. Schools are about children learning people's skills, not just learning mathematics and English and so on. About children learning people's skills and so on. Children staying at home is causing some of them to get depressed. They are suffering. They are totally confused. There are children who have been in the same class for 2 years, okay? And they are confused as to it is a total mess. And as I told you, those are the people who are least affected by opening of schools. Recently, the whole crusade of opening schools was taken up by Dr. Besian. The president replied him and said, but the children will go to school and come and infect their parents at home. Even if for them they suffer little, harm from COVID, they will come and infect their parents at home. So what are we going to why don't we just ban down Uganda completely and agree that everybody is dead because of COVID? We have to continue living our lives. Museveni is 80 or thereabout. He is under threat of COVID. Let him not lock down young children who are under very little threat of COVID.
You think?
Okay? If he's dreadfully scared of it, let him have a lockdown at State House and stay. But the rest of the country wants to leave.
What do you
the
think?
The rest of us want our children to go to school because schools are very important for the livelihoods of these children.
What do you think lies ahead of our learners if schools continue to be closed?
As I told you, and this has been raised by other politicians, UNICEF recently said we stand to lose a whole generation of students who did not go to school when they were supposed to go to school because of COVID. And that is not a worthwhile risk for us, that we lose a whole generation. Because what is going to happen? We have students, there are going to be as many as 3 classes in one class. So you have people who have come, P7 are going to S1. S1s have not moved from there, you know, and then there were those who were there previously. So there's almost going to be 3 different classes. And you know what the solution they came up with? They said that they should study in shifts. I mean, really, just open the schools. COVID is not going to go away. COVID is never going to go away.
Okay,
it is going to be like all the other viruses that came before, which we learned to live with.
Okay, Honorable, as we talk about us students, I also want your comment on teachers. We've seen teachers seem to be down, and teachers have been down for a very long time. What should have been done to ensure equitable facilitation for the teachers who have been unemployed for over 2 years?
In other countries, they were the first people to be given, and even government teachers were paid salaries in spite of the closure of schools. That did not happen as it was supposed to happen in Uganda. Okay? And even private schools were given incentives to go ahead and pay their teachers, even if the teachers are not teaching, because it is not their fault that they are not teaching. And that's why I told you that when we are having COVID committees deciding on what measures to take to mitigate the spread of the virus, we should have a teacher there. We should have a school owner in there. We should have people who are actually affected by these decisions. But what happens is people who have never, who don't understand the problems of teachers are deciding for teachers. People who don't understand the problem of businessmen, people who are bureaucrats, government bureaucrats, eating government money and growing fat on it are the ones deciding for businesses. So why don't you have the actually affected people, like teachers, like school owners, like businessmen, to be in those every district COVID committee? Let there be a teacher, okay? Let there be a business person, a business owner, and let there be people, different people who are affected in different ways. So that when the teacher stands up and tells about the ordeal that he's going through, he informs the other people. But now they don't know, they don't care. Their children are going to private schools, some of them out of the country. I mean, they have a lot of money. Their children are flying out of the country to go to school. They have locked down everybody else. And they are the ones making decisions and saying we should close down the schools. It's terrible.
Do you suggest the government should open schools now, or you share the same sentiments with other people that perhaps maybe it would be better for government to open schools when the new year starts?
Let me tell you, I'm not even going to give my opinion. UNICEF said, UNICEF, with all its scientists, you know, it's a United Nations Student Education Fund, okay? They said that opening of schools cannot wait. Those were their words, cannot wait. They wrote a letter saying that the opening of schools cannot wait. So I will go with that.
So
because they are the ones who are in charge of that faculty. So let's go with that.
So you share the same sentiment that we shouldn't wait? Because I need your opinion to make this discussion relevant.
I share the same. Actually, schools should never have closed in the first place. That's how strongly I feel about it. Schools should never have closed. This second lockdown, schools should never have closed. We should have told people to observe SOPs. We should have told people to be careful about, understand the sickness, understand the symptoms, understand the treatment. If you get it and you are not sure about the treatment, go to a hospital and go to a qualified person to go. Educate people on how to go about it. You understand? But don't close down anything.
Okay.
Schools, if you close down, definitely not schools, because schools are where the young people are, and they are the least affected by this.
Okay, Honorable, outside COVID-19, recently on 11th of this month, the whole world celebrated the World Youth Day. And yet unemployment remains an ever loud song to the irritated ears of the youth. And our capacity is still very low to be productive as a country. We are within 70% of young people who are unemployed. What more just to playing the blame games on the youth? Because most people were saying unemployment is also attributed to the youth. Yeah, that's okay. Youth have also a weakness in regards to unemployment. But as a country, what do we need to do to ensure that our young people also celebrate the art of employment?
The long-lasting solution to youth employment has got to be, first of all, youth empowerment, because some of them don't want to be employed. They want to start ventures which can employ actually other youth. And some of them have the skills. Now, when I was going around in campaigns, I was meeting all sorts of different people. And I met people and I would just ask them, some of them I tell them, now you, if I was president of Uganda today, and you came and met me and had one chance to meet me, and I do for you what you want, you don't come back a second time. Prove to me that you have a plan in your head to start a venture that can employ at least 20 of your fellows. If you can prove that to me, I give you the money to go and start. Prove to me that I have this plan, and this is the plan. I'm going to do this. Here is how it is going to work. If you just give me the starting capital, I will not need you again. I'm going to get out of here, and I will go and employ my fellow youth, and we shall become rich just with this. Now, if that's what they call empowerment. Empowerment is not telling people, come and we'll give you money, go to Guru and they give you money and so on. That is disempowering. That is turning people into beggars. Empowering is telling them, come up with an idea, a good idea, come and sell it to me. If we buy it, we give you money. Go and don't come back again, because you told us your idea is good, go and make it work. If it fails, they don't come back again, we'll try somebody else. We can do that. So some of the youth need to be empowered. Now, some of them, of course, and some of them are not even educated enough to be, but they have the brains, even in spite of the lack of formal education. They have the brains to start ventures that can help other people. Secondly, others are gifted in other areas like sport, which is totally neglected in this country. You see what is happening in Olympics and so on. How many people in Tesla there you think can run like this person if they were given the opportunity? Like this Cheptegei and so many, or even not run, throw a javelin or things like that. You see javelin throw gold medals and what? You think those people who throw those medals are better than some of the people who are in those villages of yours? No, they are not. But they have not been scouted from there. If they are scouted and they have talent in sports or all sorts of such or arts, then you empower them to turn that into a viable venture where they earn a decent living and move on. Then others, of course, are educated and want to work. Now, those ones, the way forward to actually completely employ the youth in this area is actually just improving our economy. I'll tell you this, and for me, it wouldn't take even more than 2 years before we can absorb a good percentage of our people who are coming out of universities and tertiary institutions. Because every year we release about almost close to 500,000 people from different institutions across the country who are being released into the job market and who think that they should go out and look for jobs. And yet in every year, our economy, and these are post-COVID figures, these are figures before COVID, every year we are creating about 148,000 jobs as an economy, 148,000. And yet there are 500,000 people competing for those 148,000 jobs, or 150,000 jobs. So you see every year there is a deficit of 350,000 people who are coming out of universities, tertiary institutions, and have no employment because the economy cannot absorb them. It is too small. Now, I'll give you figures, for instance, from Kenya. Kenya, every year, their economy creates 850,000 jobs. So imagine if we had an economy that creates 850,000 jobs a year, and our universities are releasing 500,000 people a year, we would have a surplus of jobs. Nobody would be complaining about lack of jobs. So ultimately, the long-term solution, the reason so many youth are unemployed is because our economy has been totally rampled by corruption, by self-seeking, by people who think they don't also have the right to be okay, by a lot of greed. And I'm talking about greed of astronomical proportions. I mean, greed which cannot even be explained. And because of all this, and because of total mismanagement, our economy is not churning out the number of jobs in different sectors that we should be able to. And also another thing, of course, these are long questions. These are not things that can be answered in one. But I'll tell you this. We cannot really, our industry is at a very, very, very bare minimum because of electricity prices being very high. We pay a lot of money for electricity. The countries which buy electricity from us actually charge their people less money for electricity than we who sell them the electricity. Why? Because of corruption. So how can we sell electricity to Kenya or to Tanzania or to Rwanda, and then you go there and electricity is cheaper there than it is in Uganda? They buy some of the electricity from here. So that is because of corruption. Now, and because of corruption, the electricity prices are high, and because of corruption, all industries run away. And because industries run away, because they cannot afford the electricity, then youth remain unemployed. So it is one thing leads to another. It is a ripple effect. But when we get our economy up and running, which is not so difficult, I'm talking about 2 to 3 years. If I was given the chance, it is not that difficult. We shall be having a surplus of jobs. Whoever comes up, because if Kenya can, okay, their economy is really big, but other people are employed in farming. Farming is a very, very big source of employment. I was in Tanzania, people leave university and go to farms, and they even refuse to go to work in government or in corporate companies. Do you know why? Because as farmers, they earn more money. They learn that there's a lot of money in farming there, because the government has streamlined it, put up cooperative societies like it used to be in Uganda, and so there's a lot of money in farming. So youth eventually discovered that you can build your dream house and drive your dream car in 3 or 4 or 5 years through farming, which you might not be able to do working a regular job.
Okay.
If it's a good.
Okay.
So now so many of them are going to farming. So all these are areas that can absorb our youth.
Okay. Well, I want to go for a short commercial, but when we come back, today Uganda received the first batch of the 2,000 Afghans that it is supposed to host in the country. We will pick the discussion from there. 51 Afghans today arrived, and government confirmed that they will all be staying in 5-star hotels. One of it is Imperial Hotel Resort in Entebbe. What are the implications? Was it necessary for government to accept to host the Afghans? And what does Kabuleta think about this decision by government? After a very short commercial, I will come back with this and much more.
Don't go away.
Sugar Veritas, FM 91.5.
We'll be back right after we pay the bills.
Maria, are you done washing the clothes?
Madam, I did long time ago.
What do you mean long time ago?
Yes, I used Blue Magic Laundry Bar Soap. It lathers well and aids fast washing with softness on my hands. Besides, Blue Magic leaves the clothes sparkling clean and smelling nice with lemon perfume.
Blue Magic Laundry Bar Soap, a product of Bidco, now in 1 kilogram and 600 grams, available in all outlets near you.
Well, yala mabongu no toma agwalanare angin iriko ilo singar ne kedo program bunya ngachaman jodo tomo simu onoti I kanyare kanyauni kanjope kanyape jope enoti iare ijope. Honorable, as we conclude with this discussion, because I want to pick people on phone, what do you think about Uganda's move to host 2,000 Afghan refugees?
First of all, how many minutes do you want me to answer that question in?
Please respond. I will stop you when time ends.
Okay, give me like 2.5 uninterrupted minutes. I'll tell you what I think. First of all, I don't think there will be 2,000 because we only have 51 who have arrived, and now the Taliban government, as they took over in Afghanistan, has said that they are not allowing any more Afghans to leave the country. So we might not get to the 2,000 people who had been accepted earlier. We might not get there. But that aside, there is a problem, before even I talk about the Afghans, because of course there is a humanitarian side. When a country is at war, you help people who, need to be helped. Because we've also been at war as a country, and we ran as refugees to Kenya, to other countries and so on. Some people even stayed there and so on. But so we have a bit of a humanitarian responsibility. But there is one big problem I have with our refugee policy in Uganda. Now, here it is rather. Our refugee policy in Uganda, when these refugees come, we have apparently what United Nations High Commission for Refugees calls the most progressive refugee policy, where refugees are allowed to leave the camp, they are allowed to own land. Actually, they are given free land. Refugees are given free land and they're allowed to move, they're allowed to involve themselves in commerce. But even as they do all of that, they get a certain amount of money from the United Nations and from other agencies that support refugees. So now what happens is a refugee comes into the country, goes into the camp, is registered, and starts getting money from United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. And so he gets a monthly allowance for being there. Now, when he leaves that camp and goes and joins the society and starts farming and starts doing trade and doing business, he continues getting that money every month. Now, what happens eventually, because of that extra money, he starts becoming better than the indigenous people whom he found there than the locals. And now that is a very big problem, because I've been in places where where a refugee camps where people are actually very angry. The other day I was with a fellow somebody who works in refugee organizations, who said he asked a young child who is an indigenous Ugandan, that what do you want to be when you grow up? And the child said, I want to be a refugee. Because he's seeing refugees are eating tinned food, they are eating nice meat, they are eating what? And the locals don't have that. So it's not possible that somebody comes and visits a home and ends up in the master bedroom. That's not how it works. If they come as refugees, they should not be better than the indigenous people. When people here, when Ugandans go as refugees elsewhere, they don't go there and own things, own land and take over the country. No, they don't. But Uganda is very harsh and, very harsh on its citizens, but very friendly to foreigners. So foreigners come here and they take over everything. They come and say, no, don't worry, they are going to be fed by the Americans. So these Africans, they are going to be fed by the Americans. It's not government money going to feed them. Okay, even if that is the case, if I came into your home and I said, okay, I'm just coming to stay here, I have nowhere to stay, but I'm going to be feeding myself. I don't need your food, I don't need anything. I came with my mat, I'm going to be feeding myself. What would happen if every day I'm eating chicken and for you, you're eating mukene? Wouldn't you become jealous?
No, you can also choose to work hard and eat chicken.
No, the point is that
you don't have. I don't have to be jealous because you are eating chicken and I cannot eat chicken.
Why can't you eat your chicken right next to my children who are eating mukene? You understand? It creates a problem. Now we have to have a refugee policy that makes sure that even if refugees have some liberty and so on, they, for their own benefit, by the way, because when the host communities start becoming jealous, then eventually they will start fighting the refugees. And it is a problem when you ask a young child, what do you want to be? And he says, I want to be a refugee. That shows that there is a total failure of the state to look after its own people. Because when we are children, they ask us, what do you want to be? You say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot, I want to be an engineer. Then somebody says, I want to be a refugee. Because he has probably seen a doctor who is not eating well and the refugee is eating well.
Okay, so Honorable,
there is a big problem.
Honorable, so should government stop these refugees from living a progressive life?
No, that's not what I'm
because
saying.
they are coming to eat chicken. They are coming to eat chicken when we are eating mukene. Should government stop them from living a progressive life?
No. No, the government should also make sure we're also eating chicken so that nobody is angry. That's my point, because that's not what I'm saying by the way. But what I'm saying is, there are places, for instance, there is a place, the site from where I come from, which has one of the biggest camps. It's called Changwa. It has 120,000 refugees. 120,000 refugees. Now, those refugees come inside. They are promised a piece of land to till. And they are actually given a piece of land to till. Now, the government went and got land from the kingdom of Bunyoro, about 50 square miles, for refugees, and she's settling refugees there and giving them land to till. Whereas local people wanted to till that very land and they were stopped. That is not right.
So do we need
So the problem is, why should a foreigner come here? Is there any other country that gives refugees land?
Honorable, do we need now to revise or re-amend the policy? And what would be the objectiveness? What would be the objectiveness of such a policy?
The objective should be, we can give them ABC. If you come, if you leave the camp, we no longer get stipend.
We should limit them from eating chicken.
No. But I hope your listeners understood my point.
Yeah, sure.
Because what we do is, if you come and stay in the refugee camp, you get the stipend. Okay? If you leave the refugee camp and choose to join the society, you stop getting that money so that at least compete at the same level as the indigenous people, not better than them, because for you are getting a monthly salary and they are not. So if you leave the camp, then no money. If they give you land to till, no money. Okay? But better still stay in the land, stay in the camp, leave the land to the indigenous people. Because the indigenous people don't have land. We cannot be in a scenario where indigenous people have no land and refugees have a lot of land to till. It is not right, and it will cause the refugees problems because people will get angry with them.
Is somebody...
It's not even just about the African refugees.
Honorable. Honorable, somebody would say for refugees eating chicken and locals eating mukene unearths the high levels of indigenous poverty among locals, and that is what government should focus on.
Because the indigenous people will become angry. I've seen places where there are now clashes. It's not right. It's not right.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Honorable. I want to pick calls. Please stay there online as you pick the feedback that people are going to raise. 0785161 is the number I want you to call and talk to Honorable Joseph Kabuleta. Ebalaibe mamuti adult bera pugana chamuno ikera iluda anyu to ni chan. Ti eje ponele kotorai rere ranyunda be katunga tiberi tani nore. What is your take? What questions or reactions do you have towards his submission? Talk to me, Veritas.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. This is who?
Arafat from Tengele.
Yes.
No one of those people. They're going for a campaign.
What are you saying?
I'm saying, if they're going for a campaign, the someone can afford to television after town. After those people, there's no one can get again to come back behind to see those people.
I am not getting your question or your reaction very well.
I'm saying, those people, if they are making a campaign, you can leave the vehicle, the food, you see those people in the village. After get the vote.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, sir. I am not getting you.
I'm saying,
yes.
Those people is in the radio. Can talk the good word, can say.
Sorry, I don't know whether it is your network or something else, but I was not getting him. Hello? Oh, okay. 07851611021. Hello?
This is Opidin Kabermaido.
Yes, Opidin in Kabermaido.
Yeah, Kabuleta. You know, it is the system which is giving this man a problem, this military system. You know, he brought it, but it's now a problem even to him. There are almost 600 generals. How are you going to change those generals who are really devoted to this man? Then the other issue is that even this man has got a cyanide. Is it true that he has a cyanide so that at the age of 76 he will remove one cyanide piece and he commits suicide? Is it true? Please, you clarify to us how we change the system.
I don't know if Honorable Kabuleta is a personal doctor to the president, but also he says that the president has a lot of generals and it is the system that keeps him. How are you going to change the system? Veritas. Yoga. Yalama. Yes, Simon.
You will take a solo the follow knowing. So I'm going to the coordinator of that. Remember the people. I just go to the job on our about to before. Why they can take it on the heart?
Okay. Well, Okay, he says government should focus on the common man because the rich people are living a healthy life, but the poor man continues to be poor every day. We need to change the way of our service delivery. Veritas.
Yoga no Mr. M.
Yoga.
Yoga program.
Yoga no oima joy jena musugun nera keda musugun.
So now
Yes.
I was a bit late for the program.
Yes.
But I want to thank Mr. Kabuleta with you, Emma.
Okay, be with you and for me as well in his speech. Well, Veritas.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Emma.
Good evening. Your name, where you're calling from, question and reaction.
I am Abraham Aluka calling from Asamu Kamuria.
Yes, Abraham in Amuria district.
I would like to thank Honorable Kabuleta so much for his wonderful speech.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there is no access.
There's no access.
I wish God could hear me and bring Wakinam Kabuleta in time.
Okay, well, thank you so much. He says he wants to thank you for a wonderful speech. Uganda needs blood like you. Unfortunately, you don't have access. And he prays God would bring you in time. Veritas. Hello? Okay, Veritas. Hello? Veritas.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
This is Isaac Oguye.
Yes, Isaac. From where?
To Tenet Kalaki.
How is Kalaki district?
Jaivere sima mata ngero kono ne konyi bon tijo mamwaje na msuguna na je kotonga nyito ni bone honorable be kopoka na special adlock Uganda tete kwa na sibe ID and lockdown reach PDT are jala kita Uganda special la jar kwa bune ngore no China kida kwa sina che kwa tikwa na dokitata na ja iso tu halu ja kwa akira tuna yare de kotokin politicians to hada treta na wale ya wale ara doctrines na uta affecting wale na tunga na mbele bika politics itoma nara jara imameta kadespea.
Okay, he says if Uganda had stayed without a lockdown, what do you think would have been the situation on ground? And then number 2, he says politicians should respect the health of people. When it is matter of health, we shouldn't politic because there is no any other spare part for life. Veritas.
Hello.
Yes.
You're speaking to Ronnie from Labor.
Yes, Ronnie in Labor.
Yeah, in Sarah District. First and foremost, I'd like to give a round of applause to Honorable.
Yes.
For the insights he has given. Coming back to our discussion today. And first of all, to first of all give out the statistics, because in Uganda statistics are showing that when we reach 2026 up to that time, Uganda will be dominated with the population which is full of the infant origin. But this population, if well scaled, will be a better opportunity for us. Now we are crying of job insecurity, unemployment. Then it is like that. Where will the record of the years go? Then coming back to the issue of education. Education is key to everything that we need in the country. But the way the government has done, first of all, sidelining the 3 principles. That is education, religion, passing culture. Those are the principles that everyone, it will provide effective government and leadership. That is what's supposed to be incorporated. But we are not seeing any functioning as per now. Where are we heading?
Where are we heading?
It's my point to the Honorable.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I want to pick a few calls. Unfortunately, my time is running. I want to pick 1 or 2, 3 so that I pay bills and Honorable will be able to respond to it. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Jay, and I'm calling you from senior quarters.
Yes, sir.
Well, today has been a very fascinating discussion, coming from Honorable Joseph Kabuleta.
Thank you, sir.
And indeed, he has put across very many issues across, from telling us that the composition of this COVID teams is very unrealistic, and indeed, I guess it was the right thing, for the government to bring in the people who are, severely affected by this COVID. But again, it brought yet another interesting thing when he talked about the refugees. It's very, very appalling to know that the refugees seem to be highly favored than the natives of the country. And for me, the Honorable has really, really brought a couple of very new ideas that some of us in Teso hadn't been knowing about. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I want to thank you and thank each and everybody who wishes to call and who is listening. I'm sorry, I will not be able to pick up more calls because of my time. I want to go and pay commercials, and then I will come back so that Honorable can be able to proceed. Honorable, a very short back to that as we call it a day.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The time check on Kyoga Veritas Radio
is brought to you by
Crystal Natural Mineral Water.
It's 9 p.m.
Crystal Natural Mineral Water. Eja Dumonet, Itarakari, Ella Marakure, Iburan Yakwa, Itoromoyoda. Crystal, Ego Gaskeda Yotinel Aqua. Irija Gijimonaki Pimi Jilele Tai. Kosurjani ni soma ikijija. Nara Crystal Natural Mineral Water. Eraija.
Crystal Water is a product of Harris International.
Edwan, atuema nekopana. Ikawa eyalo Susan. Ha, arade telo yamata atakinyane. Mambo bojipelo ragwela ibole nisiri na kwataka ibobo. Ipelorijo agwela nibana woti. Mamo chodi ipelorijo. Mililita sa kwataka era isiri na kwataka. Abe ingite Susan. Ebo. Susan, isiri ginidi. Mililita sa kwataka inoka nibana water.
Isirigina kwataka ibon.
Choti.
Ebo, ijabo bosoke di milliliters akwatara kaisaka ikote yalo isina akwatango no bon.
Mamenga chamontida. Ebo, ocham, osole ibora rekeda nivana water ilolo. Odoloke dukano yapata yo kosole agwela milliliters akwatara kaisaka ikote yalo isirigina kwatango. Milliliters akwatakan, otelo isirigina kwatakan. Elite no patu tubet, elukumita akwatakan. Ara chupa na elita kaisare na ka jumbo ilukumni kanyare. Nivana, yete soma tosuka, Crown Being Regens Limited. Soma kaluka fits.
This is 91.5 KVR FM.
Regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
Well, as we think of getting out of this place, I want to bring back Honorable Joseph Kabuleta. But Honorable, I want you to start with this question from me. I had skipped it. It had skipped my mind. Then you respond to the rest of the callers. As a spiritual leader, it seems like our moral structures have been hampered by this pandemic. What's your project the religious arms should consider in appeasing people with God?
Well, first of all, some of the reasons that have been given for keeping the churches and the other worship places closed are very financial in nature. They don't pay taxes, they don't do what, but that shows that we're a country that has let our morals slide completely. Because when people go to a church or a mosque or whatever, wherever they go, they are going to improve themselves as people, you understand? And it helps build morals, it helps build a society that is accountable, and helps build good families. But the government doesn't see, because all they see is money. So we'll open only the people who bring money. And that's very sad, because of course COVID, they can no longer use COVID as an excuse to keep the worship centers closed. Because if you've been anywhere in the towns and cities all over the country, you see how people are crammed together in a very small space and moving and there is absolutely no, actually the only place you can enforce any sort of social distancing is church. and yet churches are the ones which have been closed. So I don't understand that whatsoever. It must be a vendetta the government has against churches. Maybe Museveni wants to start his own church. Let him start it, and we see people where, because when he calls religious leaders, he wants to be the preacher.
No. The whole idea is that church concentrates and brings so many people that the pandemic does not want.
No, which so many people? Have you been to the town here, or even Soroti? You go to Soroti, the city. Go to the places in markets and what? Are there churches which congregate as many people as that? This sense socially. And you can make sure everybody who enters is at least sanitized or what, but nobody is talking about that. Churches are the most organized places, or at least they can be organized if they are told to be. So there is absolutely no logic. There is no logic whatsoever for keeping churches closed. Because you see, the president goes and meets archbishops, he meets bishops, meets pastors, meets priests, meets imams, and all these religious leaders and sheikhs, and he wants to be the one preaching to them. So if he wants to be both president and bishop, let him choose one of the two. But you see, church is essential and it should be opened, and people should go and worship. We need it people need it for all sorts of reasons, for mental health. They need to go and listen from their religious leaders and so on, be encouraged. Life is not easy as it is, so people need to go and be encouraged from, from religious centers and so on. So anyhow, so I don't see any logic whatsoever in keeping churches and worship centers and mosques and what closed. No logic, none whatsoever. It is purely a decision made arbitrarily by the president for reasons which are best known to himself. But okay, let's move on to other things here. Somebody says that the man has so many generals who support him. Who told you they support him? How sure are you that they support him? Are you absolutely sure that those generals support him? And that he has Zion, so he will commit suicide. I mean, what you want him? You want to capture him alive? What would you do with him if you capture him alive? My point is that the government will come to an end. Everything comes to an end. This system is going to come to an end. There is hope for Uganda. I do not believe that it is far away. There is hope for Uganda, and it is near, and the system is going to collapse. You think Museveni has better firepower than Gaddafi, or than Hosni Mubarak, or than Omar Bashir, or than all the other people? Omar Bashir is not going to ICC. You think Museveni is more powerful than all those people? One was killed, another one died in prison, another one is going to ICC. So all strong men have the same ending. I am telling you this. Also, so if all strong men of this kind who rule through sheer brutality have the same ending, all of them without exception. You name any one of them, they all have the same ending. So Museveni is not going to be the only exception. The system is going to end, and he's going to go, and we are going to have to rebuild our country afresh because he has totally destroyed it. Anyway, let me move on very fast. Somebody says this government should focus on the common man and improve on service delivery. I totally agree. And I agree that the common man, by the way, has the ability to become at least fairly wealthy, middle class wealthy, in a matter of 2 or 3 years with proper government. The common man, I'm meaning the most common person, through the things that I spoke about a bit in my manifesto, has the ability in 2 or 3 years to live what I would call a middle class life, where they have enough money, at least for almost all the basics, and they are fairly comfortable. So I agree with that. Then the gentleman called and said for him he has no question, he's just thanking me. Thank you very much, sir. I'm glad that you enjoyed the discussion. Then Abraham from Amuria, that saying that he wishes somebody like me would take over, but I have no access. Don't be so sure. And then he says he prays God. You pray to God. God is in control of everything. Because there was, I'll tell you this, empires have tumbled. And this one will tumble as well. It's even the weakest of them. I have studied, let me just tell you in 10 or 20 seconds, let me tell you this. When the Soviet Union, I was with somebody who was studying in Russia around 1989, and he said that the Soviet Union appeared to be at its strongest, yet actually inwardly it was collapsing, because there was a lot of corruption, there was a lot of distrust, nothing was working, the systems had all collapsed the way it is in Uganda right now. Then they woke up one day and the whole Soviet Union had collapsed totally. Yet 1 minute it was a superpower up there with America, fighting with America. The next minute it was no longer there. Actually, the head of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, ended up a refugee in America. So anything is possible. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Just stay alive. Good things are ahead. I can promise you that good things are ahead.
Honorable, let's wind up.
Okay, I have to run very fast. Okay, that's somebody. Okay, then Isaac from Karaki was talking about if Uganda had no lockdown, where would we be? Would be exactly where we are right now. And he said, don't put politics in life. I'm telling you, people are dying from other sicknesses. I think this man thinks the only sickness in Uganda is COVID. People are dying from so many other sicknesses because of lockdown. If Uganda had not gone in a lockdown, we would have saved about 10,000 lives.
Okay.
Now, just one more. Just somebody here talked about giving me applause and talking about job insecurity now and talking about religion, which you also asked about. Then another and thanking me for my position on refugees. Thank you very much. That's the end.
Well, Honorable, I want to thank you, but as we get out of this place, a lot has been discussed in the discussion, but finally, what advice do you render your fellow political commentators in the opposition wing in the road to attainment of a productive opposition?
First of all, we do not come to remain opposition forever. We have ambitions of taking over power.
Yes.
So opposition is just a journey. Okay, it is not. It's not a destination. So we will arrive at our destination.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, we discuss issues that affect the people. For in my case, the issues are all financial. I want the livelihoods of people to improve. That was all what my manifesto talked about, all about financial liberation, improving the livelihoods of people. That is my theology, not my theology. That is my ideology as a politician. So each one of them get an ideology in different places, and let's discuss issues.
Okay.
That's my.
Well, I want to thank you, Honorable Joseph Kabuleta, for your genuine time and then your response and also honoring our invitation. I want to thank everybody. Today, 25th August 2021, I had a privilege of hosting a former presidential candidate, former sports journalist, media consultant, a leader, rights activist, and author, Honorable Joseph Kabuleta, as we analyze the current state of affairs and what we need to do as a country to recover from the recent 42 lockdown days that was partially lifted. And I want to thank each of you for participating in this program. Honorable, thank you very much. I wish you the very best of your journey, the very best in your liberation, financial liberation agenda, and I really wish you a good luck.
Thank you very much for hosting me. God bless you.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Okia, and this is 91.5 Kyoga Veritas. This is the KVR Talk Show. Tomorrow, again, I return with big things for you, 7 to 9 p.m. Please